So I fell in love. I'm a painter. And I met this girl who's, well, yeah, rich, basically. She's very well off. Long story short, we'll get into details. My mother-in-law. She absolutely hates me. She thinks that I'm just a gold digger because I'm a painter, and she says my job is useless because I barely make any money. Well, when I marry, the love of my life, and move into her family home, her mother-in-law turns into an absolute nightmare, and I'm just going to tell you a few of the things that she does before the day comes where I can't take it anymore. And unfortunately, I do this.
Hey, my name's Harvey, and I'm currently in love with an uptown girl, as Westlife's song LOL. I met Saanvi 2 years ago when I needed a lawyer to file a lawsuit against a client who committed piracy. Saanvi's mother does not seem to like me for some reason or another, and her sister, on the other hand, likes seeing me around her sister as she says I bring out the best in her. I have a rival who I fear might win her hand someday soon, though. He's 28 and male, and to keep up, let me explain how I ended up in court. I'm a painter by passion, I'd say, and I would say I'm better at painting than I can ever be in photography. I happened to sell a painting to a sneaky fox for a client. He went to edit the painting and caught him selling it at a higher price. So I decided to file a lawsuit against his act, and even though I had the strength to fight him, I did not have the money to pay for a good lawyer. So I requested for a public defender, and that is when Saanvi walked into the room with silky hair, beautiful white eyes, and a breathtaking smile. I can say I forgot what I was there to do. I focused more on the shiny stone that had just walked into the room. As we started the case, I hoped for it to take a little longer so I could see her more often, but she was so good that whenever we went to court, twice, it was over. She looked at me and even asked why I was not happy about winning the lawsuit. She had no idea that I was sad because that would be the last time seeing her. So, months after the case, I decided to attend every single case she had at the court because I was literally her biggest fan. And a few months of watching her nail her cases, I decided to ask her out, and to my surprise, she did not refuse. And from there, we went on many more dates, and today I plan to ask for her hand in marriage. My mother always taught me that I cannot get married without the blessings of my parents-in-law, so I want to ask her in front of her whole family. My rival is Saanvi's family friend, and the reason why I fear him winning her hand is because he's wealthy and he runs the finances in his family's company. On the other hand, I have nothing to offer her because I don't even earn a quarter of what Saanvi earns monthly. And do not get me wrong, I'm not marrying her because I'm competing against Aditya. It's because I love Saanvi with all that I have. Guys, Mr. Reddito here with an interruption. I do have multiple updates on this story, and to be honest with you, the original post was just getting our toes wet, because this story is an absolute roller coaster. Update number 1 takes place 2 months after the original post, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for daily videos and to help support the channel, and let's jump right into update number 1. It's been 2 months since my last post, and allow me to update you on how I'm about to break my mother's heart. Do you remember me telling you about how my mother always taught me to get a parent's blessing before getting married? Yeah, I'm about to do quite the opposite. Saanvi invited me to dinner at their house, and I thought it would be a very good opportunity to propose to her. And so, I did exactly as I planned and proposed to her right after dinner. She could not believe her eyes, she was overjoyed and accepted right away, and Sarika was also very happy that I was becoming a member of their household. But her mother was nowhere close to being happy for us. She stood up and pushed me away as I put a ring on Saanvi's finger, and she held onto the ring and took a look at it as if I picked myself up off the floor.
What on earth do you think you're doing?
The only reason why I'm allowed to keep coming to my house or even having dinner here is because I feel pity for you, because you look like a homeless person. You're trying to make yourself a member of this house is crossing the boundaries," my mother-in-law said to me with disgust. She then threw the ring into my face and said she would not allow her daughter to wear a fake ring like this when she's still alive. I could not say anything to her because I had to maintain the respect I have for elders. She continued to insult me until her daughter interrupted her speech and said, "Mother, don't let me lose respect for you. Is this how you treat everyone? What happened to the manners you taught us? And just so you know, I'm getting married to this man whether you like it or not." A cat suddenly got mother-in-law's tongue. I slightly smiled as I watched my queen defend me. I was worried that we would not get married, and I had a talk with Saanvi to ask her what she thought about eloping. She said that she would not run away just to get married. She would get married in front of her mother, whether the mother liked it or not. She asked me to have a little patience with her mom, and that her mother would come around sooner than I expect. I believed her, and we decided to plan the wedding, and I had very high expectations of her mother changing her mind about me. But it never came. I wondered if it would be worth getting married to her. I'm getting married in a week's time, and I cannot back out now. All I want to do is share the rest of my life with my soulmate, but her mother thinks I'm marrying her, just to secure a place for myself in their household. She thinks so low of me. She thinks I'm an opportunist, but she's never even heard a conversation with me to get to know me. All she does is insinuate and act like she knows me when she knows nothing about me. A few days ago, she came to see me at my apartment, and I honestly don't know how she even got a hold of my address. When she came, she went ahead and made sure to carry her disrespect with her. I was very shocked to see her after I opened the door to a knock. She walked in, and since she's about to become my mother-in-law, I had to respect her, so I offered her a seat, and she refused, as she made a disgusted facial expression, and she said to me, and I quote, "I'm not here to hang out with you or enjoy a cup of coffee. I'm here because I want you to stay away from my daughter." "I cannot let you marry her. What'll people say about us? So, how much do you want for you to leave Saanvi alone? I can get you the money. Just name your price." I gave her a sarcastic smile as I politely asked her to leave my home. She was not happy with the fact that I refused her offer, and she walked out slowly as she murmured out of anger. And I still cannot believe she thinks that a life full of happiness can be easily exchanged for a bit of money. I will not give up on the love that I have for Saanvi, no matter what happens. She then yelled as she entered her car, and I quote, "You'll regret turning down my offer. I'll not allow you to marry my daughter." And then she drove off. As much as I wanted to call Saanvi to let her know, I knew it would break my heart, and besides, she said that her mother will come around and I'll hang on a little longer, and guys, I will update you soon. Update number 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and life with my mother-in-law around me is not very easy at all. You're probably thinking that my wedding was mind-blowing, but unfortunately it was not at all my dream to have a wedding like the one that I had. Saanvi always wanted a white wedding, and she thought it would be nice if we can fly back to my hometown to have a white wedding on the beach. So, we planned it for months. When her mother found out that we were planning to have our wedding out of town, she started complaining and said that she would not allow us to have a white wedding as it apparently brings bad luck in a marriage. Saanvi was so easy to be convinced because she felt that her mother just wanted to take part in her wedding, so I was forced to make so many changes because my mother-in-law got into her daughter's head. And Saanvi simply wanted to change her white wedding into a traditional wedding. My mother-in-law invited distant relatives and friends, and then they started their wedding rituals, and I was not allowed to see Saanvi as it's apparently a bad omen. I don't believe in superstitions, though, but I had to keep my distance from Saanvi. We communicated over the phone, and I asked her if she really wanted to change everything, and she said that the only thing she ever wanted was for her mother to take part in her wedding, and she's willing to take part if we make the wedding traditional. Because of the love I have for my fiancé, I had to do it. The day before our wedding, my mother-in-law convinced her daughter that it was better if we signed a prenuptial agreement, and I strongly believe that couples who sign prenups when they don't trust each other, and what my mother-in-law is saying to her daughter makes me uncomfortable as she's turning her daughter into that person that she is. Even though Saanvi disagreed at first, her mother emotionally blackmailed her and she gave in. I had no other choice but to sign the prenuptial agreement, and I would do anything for Saanvi. I know that she's under her mother's poisonous plans, but I could not neglect her. Saanvi noticed that I was not happy with the fact that she made me sign. She tried to make me feel better, and she even said that it was just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean that I'm limited to using her money or owning her assets. That's exactly what it means, though, no matter what she says. One other thing that she does not have sitting well with me is the fact that on our wedding day, Aditya gave Saanvi a car as a wedding present. I know that I cannot afford a lot of things, but that does not give them the right to buy my wife a car as a wedding present. Even a blind man can tell that he's trying to show society that I'm unable to buy my wife a car. It was all my mother-in-law's fault as she invited him to our wedding in the first place, and I cannot stand my mother-in-law or Aditya. I approached Aditya and told him to take back his car, but it was of no use, because the car was already in Saanvi's name. As I was busy talking to Aditya, Saanvi came by and asked me to stop harassing her friend. I was just doing what any other man would have done. I don't want Aditya to feel entitled to my wife, and as long as that car is under her name, he will. Do you guys think I'm overreacting with their friendship? Do you think I'm just being paranoid? Anyways, I have to go for now, but I promise to update you soon on how things are going. Update number 3. Hey guys, so it's been a bit of a doozy. It's been 7 months since the last update. My mother-in-law is determined to make my life a living nightmare in this house, so after the wedding, I moved in with Saanvi and her family, and it has not all been easy living in this house. Saanvi surprised me with my very own small studio, and I always wondered what people were building in the backyard. It turned out to be a studio for me. Everyone kept wondering and asking what Saanvi asked to be constructed, and when the building was done, she then later told me that it was what it was, and she later then announced it at the family too. My mother-in-law was furious to hear that Saanvi has built me a studio. She then tried to convince Saanvi to turn it into a backyard cottage or an apartment-type flat that they could rent out. For once in Saanvi's life after we got married, she refused to fulfill her mother's wishes. She even said to her that if it was her duty for her to support my dreams. My mother-in-law started calling me a fortune hunter. I have nothing against her, but she on the other hand has a problem with the fact that I'm a painter. I feel uncomfortable around her because she thinks little of me and my profession and job. I may not make a lot of money, but I've always been a humble person, and I have just self-respect that I would never think of marrying someone just for their money. Well, 2 weeks ago it was my wife's birthday, and I had prepared a beautiful gift for her. It was a portrait of our wedding day, and you'd probably wondering why I'm saying was. That's because my mother-in-law destroyed it. And it claimed to be an accident, but her eyes said otherwise, and even my gut tells me that she intentionally did what she did. How it all happened? Well, a few days before Saanvi's birthday, my mother-in-law walked in on me and found me wrapping up the portrait. She gave me an envious smile and asked me what I was painting. As much as I did not want to answer her, I want to keep the peace between us even though she does not mind her business and she hates the fact that I'm staying in her house. I answered her with this. I'm working, and I would really appreciate if you knock the next time you plan to pay a visit, as it is disturbing my thoughts when one just budges into my studio like you just did." She felt disrespected, and she fired her shots back and said, "Don't you forget that as long as your studio is on my land, it remains in my name and it's my property, so you cannot stop me from roaming freely on my own property." She went on with her whining as I had stopped responding, and I just continued with my painting, and she eventually left. Because my mother-in-law had seen the portrait a few days before my wife's birthday, I had no idea that she was planning to destroy it. So, as I planned to give my wife's gifts, I went to get the gift, but it was nowhere to be found. I asked my sister-in-law if she had seen it, but it was as if it just vanished into thin air. I continued to look around, and I found it torn in the dustbin. I asked the whole house who had done it, but they all said they did not even have an idea that I painted a portrait of that kind. During dinner, my mother-in-law then spoke up and confessed to destroying the portrait. She looked like a puppy, and it was so easy for her to fool Saanvi into believing that it was an accident. I still wonder until today how exactly she tore it apart and claimed it to be an accident. I looked at her angry as she faked her expressions, and I immediately stood up as I had lost my appetite from hearing her talk. Saanvi followed me to the room and did what she always did. And the only other problem I have with my wife is that she believes that her mother has accepted me, and that everything she does is either unintentional or I'm overreacting. How can I possibly convince my wife that her mother is a wolf in sheep's clothing? Though she followed me to the room, she was not happy with the fact that I did not buy her anything for her birthday. She probably thinks that I used the portrait as an excuse to not give her a gift, which is most definitely not the case. Update number 3. Hey guys, it's been exactly 3 weeks since my last update. I'm almost fed up with my mother-in-law's behavior. She acts like a little child, and I hate that I have to put up with her just because she is my mother-in-law. So, what happened now is that she went ahead to push herself down the stairs and blamed it on me. Yeah, that's right. I cannot explain how I'm at fault because I'm not. I walked into the house from my studio, and as I walked up the stairs, my mother-in-law started calling me an opportunist. Well, I ignored her and just kept walking, and as I reached the top of the stairs, I heard a sound that caught my attention. There she was, falling. As I turned, she called unto me, and I could not do anything to save her, or so I thought. I had no idea that Saanvi was standing right on the doorstep, and that is when it all made sense. My mother-in-law had to let go of herself because she was almost caught red-handed emotionally assaulting me by calling me nasty names. Since her plan worked, she was not the one in trouble with Saanvi, but it was I. Saanvi looked at me as if I was to blame for her mother's so-called accident, and Saanvi ran up to help her mom. My mother-in-law could not stand on her own 2 feet, and everyone was scared that she might not be able to walk on her own ever again. So, I carried her into the car and we drove her to the hospital. As we anxiously waited in the waiting area, Saanvi looked at me with anger and disgust and asked me why would I ever push her mother. Well, I tried to make her understand that I had nothing to do with it, but she did not believe me. In fact, she looked at me with disgust and said some pretty rude things to my face. I saw you with my naked eyes as I watched my mother fall down those stairs. She called on to you, but you looked at her with no sympathy in those eyes. I could not even believe that I married a selfish, arrogant man like yourself. I did not want to say anything offensive that I would end up regretting, so I just left the hospital and went home. The words that Saanvi said to me kept ringing in my head every day, and I just tried to paint, but I couldn't. I had a couple of clients that were complaining that my paintings are no longer as good as they were and as beautiful as they used to be. And honestly, I cannot grant their wishes with the stress I go through with my mother-in-law every single day. I try to make it up to my clients to avoid losing them because I cannot afford to go out of business as things are already bad with my mother-in-law. If I lose my clients, then I will not hear the end of my mother-in-law's lecturing and name-calling. My wife and I decided that it's for the best as we slept in separate rooms. I've been sleeping in my studio, and I'm very sure that my mother-in-law is overjoyed with that news. She came back home, and I've only seen her from afar. The only person I was willing to fight for is not believing me, and I'm starting to consider moving out. It's not only affecting me emotionally, but it's also affecting my productivity. Saanvi has called me arrogant and selfish, which I'm sure do not even show up on the list of my character. The last thing I want is to live my whole life trying to explain and prove myself to people who I really am. Update number 4. Hey guys, so it's been about 2 weeks since my last update, give or take a few days. I've lost so many clients that I'm almost out of business, and I don't know how to get them back. They all say that I've become rusty and I'm no longer creative, and how can I possibly lose something that's a part of me? I'm distressed. I never knew love could do this with so much anxiety. And well, a few days back, Saanvi came to my studio to confront me about my relationship with my mother-in-law. Since I was not staying in the house anymore as I moved into the studio, I thought maybe they would all just have a bit of peace and stop being on my case all the time. Little did I know that my mother-in-law had a lot in store for me. When Saanvi came to me, I actually thought that she came to make up. But instead, she came to confirm if her mother's accusations were true. Well, I stopped painting at this point and just sat to listen to what she wanted to say. She then started raising her voice as she explained what her mother had said. One could say she was almost too sure that her mother was telling the truth. My mother-in-law told her daughter that I've always attempted physical assault on her. She went all the way as to say that I've raised my hand to her before and I insult her. How can you believe such things? Do you believe that I would really do that to your mother? I've always been nothing but respectful to your mother, Saanvi. But it seemed my words were falling onto a hard shell. I've only known you for a few years, but I've known my mother my whole life, and mother is everything but a liar. And besides, you're an artist. Lying is a gift to you. Who knows if your talent does not come with lying as a bonus? I should have married Aditya. Just like mother always wanted, she would not have gone through all this if I had. She replied to me, and I could not believe that she said that my talent comes with lying. It was then that I realized that us was totally broken. She chose to believe her mother's lies than her husband's truth. I was hurt that I could not even walk into the house to pack my belongings, and I only took a few things that I would need from the studio and left. She followed me and kept asking where I was going, but I did not answer her because it was clear that she would never believe anything I told her anyways, and that's when I found the flat I'm currently staying in now. I've not told Saanvi where I'm staying as she has not stopped calling me, and I had no choice but to block her because I need my inner peace and I cannot get it back with her calling me all the darn time. Am I a bad husband for doing that to her? Update number 5. This is the final update and the title is this. It's been a year since my last update. I must say that karma never disappoints. So, a few months after I left Saanvi, she got a hold of me via her work telephone. She had never contacted me with it, so I thought it was a client calling, and as I picked up, I recognized her voice and I was about to hang up, but she begged me to forgive her and just give her 5 minutes to explain herself, and so I did. She apologized and requested for us to meet in person, so we met the following day and she explained everything to me. She said her sister had been keeping an eye on her mother and she saw how my mother-in-law treated me. She did not want to open up to Saanvi because she thought her mother would disown her. She later found the courage to tell Saanvi about everything. At first, Saanvi doubted as always, but with time she accepted that her mother had her blind. She shed tears as she explained and apologized, and I had no idea that my presence in that house made her feel safe. She continued to tell me how the house is empty without my humor. She then asked me to move in with me. I literally have nowhere to go because I left things ugly with Mother. She threatened to disown me if I came looking for you, but I cannot stay with a liar, with someone who does not care about her own daughter's happiness. She said to me as she wiped her tears away. I could see the love in her eyes as she talked, and mothers have influential power, and it's very hard as a child to escape being blinded by them. I could not handle seeing her so sad, and I forgave her, and we moved in together. Apart from Saanvi, Sarika has also moved out of the house because Saanvi has stopped paying the house expenses. My mother-in-law is now stuck, all on her own in a lonely house. Karma served her well, and I'm glad that she got what she truly deserves. Saanvi is now happier than ever, and she has decided to continue with her studies. She enrolled in graduate school, and she said she has big dreams. As her husband, I will support her and go with her to the end of the world if I have to. By the way, we're going to be parents soon, and I'm so excited. Saanvi's a little shaken as she's scared to turn out like her own mother, but I know that she'll make a very good mom, and I'll always be there so she has nothing to worry about. Wish me luck, guys. That's about it with me, and I appreciate everybody for letting me vent. Thank you, I was going mad.
Alright guys, so let's discuss today's story. First of all, the comment section of this one, it surprised me quite a bit, honestly. I mean, I can understand their perspective though. They were saying, hey, we know the mother-in-law was a horrible person and she was just not minding her own business, which she should have been, but they weren't really mad at her. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of mother-in-law stories that we cover, and the comment sections just rip them apart, but this time, you know who they were blaming? Saanvi. They were saying Saanvi did not believe OP, her significant other, and she chose to use, well, her mom, and lean towards her mother more and more, but it wasn't even that made the comment section so mad. It was Saanvi's choice of wording. How she said things to OP about how she should have married another man who was the guy that bought her a car to try to steal her from OP. I mean, there was just so many red flags that Saanvi did, and it took her own sibling to say, hey, Saanvi, I didn't want to tell you this because I didn't want to get kicked out of the house, but you're mistaken. It was not OP who was rude, he's never hit our mom, nothing like that. Your mom is a liar, Saanvi, and everything she said about OP was totally false. So guys, let me know your thoughts about this. In your opinion, who was the worst person in this story? Was it the mother-in-law of OP, or was it Saanvi? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the comments. I try to reply to as many comments as I can, and I love discussing the stories. If you guys want more daily videos, the best way to support the channel is very easy. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel by clicking the button directly underneath this video, and that way you never miss a daily video as well. Have a fantastic day, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya!